We're speaking with Kathleen Karpuk, who is a trustee candidate for the school board in School District 73. Kathleen, are there any social justice causes you're involved in or at least interested in?
Definitely student hunger and making sure that those students that are coming from a low socioeconomic background have as many chances as they can to succeed. That's huge for me.
What do you feel is the school board's role in addressing the big differences in socioeconomic status between kids living in the most affluent neighborhoods and those living in the poorest neighborhoods?
So one of the big things that we have is breakfast programs, lunch programs, because kids that come to school hungry can't learn. And so we do a lot of work making sure that kids have food. That's why we participate in the Starfish Backpack program and really just making sure that those schools have extra resources in terms of a higher ratio of educational assistants, higher ratio of LARTs, so that those kids have that extra bump up so that they can succeed and get over those hurdles.
What do you think needs to change in our school district?
I would love to have more funding to embed mental health supports in our schools. Because right now what happens is if a child presents and they're going into crisis, they get referred out. And that can be a barrier in and of itself, whether the parents want to deal with it because there's still a stigma around mental health, whether they're willing to be able to make those appointments for children. Parents have to work. If kids could access that in schools when they need it and not be on a 3-month waiting list, that would be fantastic.
There are many school-aged children living below the poverty line in Kamloops and across Canada. What role, if any, do you feel a school trustee should play in advocating for economic justice for these kids?
I think we have a huge role because we see firsthand what these kids go through and what they have to struggle with in order to succeed. I think it's definitely within the role of a school trustee to advocate for things like a provincial poverty plan. I'd like to see a provincial social plan around how we're going to put in mental health, how we deal with our social programs to make sure that they're equitable and so that they're well-rounded and so that people can access them when they need them.
Now, some folks see public education as a form of advanced babysitting. Others see it as a way to produce obedient workers for the labor pool. And others see it as a way to ensure kids become good citizens of their community. What do you feel is the role of public education in our society?
Our role for public education is to make sure that our kids have the skills to be able to succeed in life, whichever career that is. So that means that they need to have critical thinking skills, they need to be creative, they need to be able to work cooperatively with other people, they have to be able to communicate, and those are all really important parts of the education system. It's not about turning out drones, it's about turning out people who can think creatively, think critically, and be great social citizens.
School support staff and teachers have had wage increases over most of the last 20 years that have not kept up with inflation. These workers are also in the middle of negotiating collective agreements, a big part of which will be wages. Do you support providing better than inflation wage increases so that we can recruit the most talented staff from across the country? Or are you satisfied with subpar wage increases, which will prolong the current difficulties in acquiring an adequate number of staff?
I've always felt that if you want quality people in your schools, and that's an important place to have quality people, you have to pay them what they're worth.